Gee whiz.
Hello, friends. My name is John Henderson. Welcome to this series of old-time radio show episodes called Gee Whiz. These are the stories of the schemes, trials, and loves of the typical American teenagers, Andy Hardy, Archie Andrews, and Henry Aldrich. Coming up, a classic episode of the Aldrich family about a sleigh ride. But first, an episode where they go to church. American Christian churches in the mid-20th century expected people attending to wear formal clothes, a suit and tie or a dress, your Sunday best. The benches where people sat were called pews, and they would pass around a collection plate for donations. And each person would be handed a hymnal, a songbook for singing hymns. Since the 1940s, some churches have changed to casual dress, cushioned chairs, projection screens with modern songs, and even online donations. But some churches, even today, still carry on these old traditional ways of doing things. This episode of The Aldrich Family is from January 25th, 1945.
The Aldrich Family, a special rebroadcast for you soldiers, sailors, and Marines of the United Nations.
And now for the Aldrich Family with Dick Jones as Henry and Jackie Kelk as Homer. No one can ever predict what a teenage boy like Henry Aldrich will do next. The best you can do, if you're a grown-up, is to say that he'll do the sort of things you did when you were young. The scene opens in the Aldrich living room. The time is Sunday morning.
Mary, I want you to run upstairs right this minute.
Yes, Mother. My goodness, what for?
And get me a clean handkerchief. And Henry.
Yes, Mother. I'm all ready to start.
No, you're not, dear. You haven't even combed your hair.
Mother, I have combed my hair. I give you my word I've combed my hair.
Dear, you've combed it only in front. Remember, the Kilmers are going to be sitting in the pew right behind us, and you know how the Kilmers talk.
About my hair? Well, look, Mother, I've got a rubber band right here in my hand. How about my wearing that on my head until we get about a block from the church and then taking it off?
Now, dear, if you can't be honest about combing your hair, especially when it's for church, then I'd rather you didn't go with me.
Yes, Mother, I'll go up and comb it.
Here, Mother, here's your handkerchief. That's what you wanted me to get, isn't it?
Thank you, dear. Thank you very much. And did you bring my gloves?
Mother, you didn't tell me to.
Well, I certainly took it for granted you knew I'd wear them. And, Mary, look at your shoes. Dear, you aren't going to wear those, are you?
Why not?
To church? Shoes like that?
I wore them last time we went.
Well, I certainly didn't know it. And if I had, I wouldn't have been comfortable 1 minute of the entire service. Now, please go upstairs and put on a sensible pair of shoes with toes in them.
Yes, Mother.
And bring down my gloves. They're on top of my bureau, I think.
They're on your bureau?
Yes, dear. Or you might look and see if I left them on the foot of my bed as I went by it.
Mother!
Yes, Henry, is that you calling me?
Is it all right if I borrow Mary's comb?
Henry Aldrich, don't you dare use my comb.
Mary, is that any attitude to take just before church?
Alice!
Yes, Sam.
Why isn't everyone ready to go?
We are ready, Sam. We're really just waiting for you.
You're waiting for me? Well, I'm all ready. Come on, let's not be late.
Now, Sam,
What's the matter?
you aren't going to wear that tie, are you?
This tie? What's the matter with this tie?
Now, dear, you know very well you're to take up the collection this morning. I certainly don't want you walking down the aisle with everyone looking at nothing but your necktie and Mary's toes.
Mother, what was it you said I should look for on the foot of somebody's bed?
And my necktie. I mean your father's shoes. My gloves, dear, and please hurry up.
Alice, why worry about your gloves? Come on, let's get started.
Sam, I could no more walk into that church in bare hands than I could... Dear, don't you think I want to enjoy the service? Now, please go change your necktie.
Very well.
How do you like my hair, Mother?
It looks fine. Now, dear, why can't you comb your hair that way every day and not just... Dear, didn't I ask you to shine your shoes?
Sure, Mother, and I did. Look at the shoe polish on this one finger that wouldn't come off.
Well, you may have some on your finger, but you don't have any on your shoes. And, Henry, don't try to shine them on the back of your trouser leg.
But it's a dark blue suit, Mother.
And a brand new suit. I want you to march right out to the kitchen and finish shining them while your father is putting on a respectable tie.
Yes, Mother.
Only don't do anything in that good coat. Hang it on the back of his chair before you go out there.
Sure, that's a very good idea, Mother.
Mary!
I'm coming, Mother. Here's your Bible. Where do you think I found it?
Thank you, dear. Only where are my white gloves?
I can't find them, Mother. Do you have to have them?
Now, Mary, I certainly hope you don't think I want to sit through the whole service with my hands on my mind.
Alice,
Yes, Sam?
have you seen my gray striped tie?
Your gray striped one? Well, if you can't find it, dear, why don't you wear your black one?
My black one? A black tie to take up a collection in?
Did you look on your necktie rack, Father?
I did, and all I could find there was a pair of ladies' gloves.
Gloves? On your tie rack? Oh, yes. Then you'll find your gray tie on the towel rack in the bathroom.
What's it doing there?
It's hard to explain, Sam. Only please hurry or we'll be late when we walk in and everyone will look at us that much more.
Hello, everybody.
Homer Brown, what are you doing over here?
My mother made me brush my suit 3 times, and I got sick of it. Do you mind if I sit with you in church?
Oh, Homer, we'd love to have you. Only, wouldn't your mother and father like to have you sit with them?
My father isn't going. It's his only chance to work on his income tax.
And doesn't that mean your mother has to sit alone?
No, that's what I'm explaining to you. She's sitting with my aunt and uncle and 3 cousins and my grandmother. And when you get that many in our pew, along with all our coats and hymn books, my feet go to sleep.
Oh, is that you out there?
Sure. Hello, Henry.
Henry, have you finished polishing your shoes?
Well, I was just going to tell you, Mother. All I can find is the brown polish.
Oh, dear, sometimes I get so discouraged. Mary, go out and help your brother find the black polish.
Yes, Mother. Apparently Henry can't find anything unless 12 people help him do it.
Alice,
Now what, Sam?
do you have any change handy that I can give Henry and Mary?
No, dear, don't you have any?
All I have is some dollar bills. You mean to say they'll have to... that is...
Now, Sam. My goodness, where's my pocketbook?
Now, don't get excited. It's right there on the piano.
Here it is, Mrs. Aldrich. Here, I'll get it for you.
Homer, what are you doing here?
We're all going to church together, Mr. Aldrich.
Oh, well,
Sam, here's some change. Put some of it in Henry's coat pocket.
where are Henry and Mary? Why do they keep us waiting like this?
Henry's helping Mary find the shoe polish, Mr. Aldrich.
No, wait a minute.
What's the matter, Sam?
What on earth is this garb of stuff in Henry's coat pocket?
Sam! Sam Aldrich, look at your hand.
Can you make out what it is, Alice? Is that a chocolate drop or something?
Chocolate, Mr. Aldrich? Did you say chocolate?
Homer, just keep away.
Sam, you'll have to get it out somehow.
Get it out? Alice, do you realize the whole bottom of the pocket is nothing but soft chocolate?
That doesn't make any difference, Sam. If you think I can sit in that church with everyone in town that I know staring at my son and knowing that I let him come with chocolate all over the inside of him...
Alice, I've got out what I could.
Well, what did you do with it?
I put it in the ashtray. At least I thought I did.
That's all right, Mr. Aldrich. I got it. It's very good. It must have had a cherry filling.
Homer, are you eating that?
Oh, excuse me. Did you want some?
I did not, and don't you eat any more.
Oh, dear. Sam, look at me. Look at my glove.
Have you got some more, Mrs. Aldrich?
Alice, I told you to keep your hands out of there.
And I just finished washing these gloves.
Now, let's just let things drop where they are. Come on, and let's get started for church.
Sam, I am not going to start looking as though I'd been making fudge with my gloves on. Homer, dear, go up to the bathroom, please, and get the bottle of cleaning fluid that's on the top shelf of the medicine closet.
Yes, Mrs. Aldrich. It's a very good idea. Boy, look at my suit. How did that get on there?
Don't waste time looking at your suit. Run!
Mother!
Oh, what, Mary?
Have you seen the shoe polish anyplace?
The shoe polish?
Alice, do you suppose that's what's in Henry's pocket here?
Now, Sam.
Is it, Mr. Aldrich?
Is it what?
Shoe polish I've been eating? Because if it is, I want to know before I do anything else.
No, Homer. Please get the cleaning fluid.
Mother,
Yes, Henry?
did I just hear Homer say he found the shoe polish?
No, Henry. He thought he'd eaten it.
The black shoe polish? Why'd he do that?
Henry, will you please tell me what this is in your blue coat pocket?
Well, if it's a letter, Father, I'll tell you. I met her last summer, see? And why, out of a clear sky,
It is not a letter.
It isn't?
It's part chocolate and part maraschino cherry.
For me? You mean she sent me a box of chocolate?
Henry, dear, can't you see your pocket? Can't you see my glove?
Oh, gee whiz. Oh, yeah. Oh, that. Well, I tell you, Father, do you remember that box of chocolate-covered cherries you brought home last week?
I do.
Well, I like chocolate, and I didn't know this had cherries in it, see?
Go on.
Well, last Wednesday afternoon, I happened to walk in there, and Mr. Carson, the minister, was here, and Mother was passing him chocolates, and she passed me one, and I bit into it.
Go on.
Well, naturally, with the minister here, I didn't want to... Well, there wasn't any place left to put it, so I put it in my pocket.
Now, Henry, what's in that pocket isn't just one chocolate.
No, that's what I was going to tell you. I tried one, and then I thought I'd try a couple more and see if I could hit one without cherries.
And you apparently didn't hit one.
No, sir. So I finally gave up. And that was the last I ever thought of it.
Mrs. Aldrich, here it is. Here's your cleaning fluid.
Thank you, Homer. Thank you very much.
Who are you going to start on first? Henry or me or Mr. Aldrich?
What do you mean on me?
Isn't that chocolate in your hair, Mr. Aldrich?
In my hair?
Sam, look in the mirror. How did you get chocolate way up there?
Father, don't you like chocolate-covered cherries either?
That's a fine thing. If you're looking for chocolate these days, you can never find any, but... Alice, look at my shirt.
No, Sam, it's in your hair.
It's also on my shirt, and this is the last clean shirt I have until the laundry comes tomorrow.
Well, hold still until I get through cleaning out Henry's pocket, and then I'll see what I can do with you. And, Henry, the next time you put something in your mouth that you don't happen to like, especially if the minister is here, I hope you'll be honorable enough to swallow it.
You mean it was sort of deceitful of me to put it in my pocket?
Mother, look at what you're doing. You poured that whole can of cleaning fluid into Henry's pocket.
Yes, dear, only don't stand there and tell me about it. Go get a towel or something so we can soak it up.
Homer, you aren't doing anything. You're just sitting around here. Go get a towel.
Now keep calm, Mary. Henry, go over and open that window.
Yes, Father.
No, Henry, stand still. You're leaking.
Yes, Mother.
Alice, let me tell you one thing. If you think I'm going to church covered with chocolate like this, you're crazy.
Now, Sam, you've got to go. I can't go.
Why can't you?
Smelling of cleaning fluid? Do you think I could sit through that entire service with the Kilmers in back of me sniffing?
All right. All right, you can stay home, too. I'll go to the phone and tell Mr. Carson that I can't help with the collection. Mary can go and represent the whole family.
Father, I can't represent it. I can't possibly represent it.
Why not?
I've got chocolate on my glove.
Now, Mary, how on earth did you get chocolate on you?
Well, that's what I can't understand. I haven't even been near Henry.
Well, it's a funny thing, but I haven't got a darn bit on me.
What do you mean you haven't got any on you?
Sam, go to that phone and call Mr. Carson.
What shall I tell him?
Don't tell him the truth. He'll think we're making it up.
What shall I tell him?
You can think of something. Tell him. Make something up that sounds believable.
Mrs. Aldrich.
Don't you have that towel yet?
That's what I came down to ask you. Do you want a face towel or a bath towel or one of those nice little guest towels with cherries on it?
And I would also like to remind the congregation that due to the fact that next Friday is a holiday, the meeting of the Ladies' Thursday Evening Reading Club, which generally takes place on Friday afternoon, will take place instead on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Remember, the Ladies' Thursday Evening Club next Wednesday instead of Friday. Also, I'm sure the members of the congregation will be pleased to hear that Mrs. Trapp is doing much better, and before long she'll be back taking part in the activities of our church. On the darker side of the picture, however, as I was leaving my study only a few minutes ago, the phone rang, and to make a long story short, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Samuel Aldrich, Henry, as to just what happened to him, no one seems to know, but at any rate, Henry is being confined to his home. And while the immediate members of the family were most anxious to join us here in this service, they felt that their place at this time was beside their son. Now, before I get on to the next announcement, I would like to say that some of these beautiful flowers that grace our church this morning will be sent to Henry immediately following the service. Now, I've been asked...
Mother, have you seen my overcoat any place?
Henry, what is it you want your overcoat for?
I'm going out. Have you forgotten? I'm invited over to Kathleen's for Sunday dinner.
Dear, you are not going out of this house until church is over. And Sam?
Alice, I'm just going out to get some fresh air. All I've been breathing this morning is cleaning fluid.
And do you realize church doesn't get out until 12 o'clock?
All right. It's 3 minutes to 12. Look at my watch right here.
Well, you're going to stay here until at least 5 after. Suppose you met the Kilmers on your way down the street. We'd never live it down.
Alice, where are you going?
Out to the kitchen, make sure your watch is right.
Oh, hello, Mr. Carson.
Hello. I'm sorry I was delayed. I've been in my study getting out of my robe.
Well, that was an excellent sermon this morning, Mr. Carson. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've just been looking over the contributions here for this morning. They seem to be unusually generous. And by the way, Mr. Carson, if it'll help any, I'd be very glad to take those flowers over to the Aldriches.
Thank you just the same, but one of the new members of the church who seems to want to take part in our activities has already offered to take care of that.
Well, that'll be a very nice experience for a new member to meet the Aldriches.
Yes. Poor Mary Aldrich. Did you see her alone in her pew this morning?
Oh, really? Did Mary get here?
She most certainly did, and there she sat, just as though nothing had happened.
Yes? Well, where's my handkerchief?
You got something on your hand?
I just picked up an envelope with a little chocolate or something on it.
Yes?
That's good.
I guess some little child was allowed to put that on the plate.
Well, as long as the spirit was there, that's all that's important.
By the way, did Mrs. Brown find her son, Homer?
Homer? Has he been lost?
All I know is Mrs. Brown was waiting at the front door for quite a long time after the service, and he didn't come out. She shook hands with me 3 times. Well.
Something the matter, Mr. Carson?
No, I just put my hand in my pocket, and how do you suppose that got in there?
What is it?
Oh, I remember. I was visiting the Aldriches this last week, and Mrs. Aldrich passed some chocolates. And I like chocolate-covered cherries, but frankly, I'd had quite a hearty lunch, and, I didn't want to put the chocolate back in the box before, so I sneaked it into my pocket.
Did it do much damage?
No, I think a little cleaning fluid will take it out all right. I guess I better take care of it before I go over and call on Henry, so I won't feel guilty when I walk into the Aldrich's house.
We'll return to Henry Aldrich in just a few moments. Meantime, here's Alan Roth and his orchestra.
Now getting back to the troubles of Henry Aldrich. Due to the fact that the entire family became covered with chocolate this morning, just as they were about to leave the house for church, only Mary attended. Mr. Aldrich, in his attempt to explain the situation to the minister, gave the impression that a serious accident had befallen Henry. The scene opens shortly after noon of the same day on one of Centerville's streets.
Listen, Homer, do you mind walking a little faster, please?
I'm walking fast, Henry. What do you want me to do, run?
But don't you realize I'm due over at Kathleen's for dinner right now? And all you want to do is stop and look at things.
But, Henry, why not turn this corner here? Why do we have to go by the church?
Why shouldn't we go by the church? We can cut right across the lawn and save almost half a block.
Yeah, but remember, Henry, we didn't go this morning, and
Look out, Homer. Gee whiz, do you want to bump right into that man that's got his arm full of plans?
Oh, excuse me.
That's all right, young man. I wonder whether you boys could give me a hand for just a minute.
Oh, sure. Is there something you'd like to have us do?
There are some more flowers here on the steps of the church that I've got to put in my car. I have to take them to several places, and I'm a little behind schedule.
Sure, we'd be glad to help you put them in the car.
The only thing is, Homer, how about Kathleen?
Gee whiz, Henry, if it's for the church, don't you think we ought to help?
Well, are these the plants right here?
Yes, put them on the floor in the back of the car. I'm going into the church and get some more.
Are they for sick people, mister?
Yes, some of them are for Mrs. Trapp, and some are for a young man over on Elm Street who's had an accident.
On Elm Street? Homer, who do you suppose that could be?
Probably the little Kilmer kid. He's always falling down or something.
That's true. And boy, my mother will probably make me go over and visit him.
Henry Aldrich!
Don't bother me, Mary. Can't you see I'm busy?
But you shouldn't be carrying those. You ought to be home receiving them.
Receiving them? What do you mean by a statement like that?
I don't know what it was Father told Mr. Carson, but you're supposed to be in a terrible condition, Henry, and this is no way to show your appreciation.
For what? For what? I don't want any flowers, Mary. Kathleen's waiting for me.
That doesn't make any difference. Mother's terribly upset, and you've got to come home and be sick.
Come on, Henry. Don't you think we better go back?
Homer Brown, you put that rubber plant down.
But, Mary, I thought you said it was for Henry.
Hello, Harriet. Can you hear me? This is Alice, Harriet. Your sister, Alice Aldrich. Have you seen anything of Henry and Homer over your way? Well, my goodness, I sent Mary out to find Henry nearly 45 minutes ago, and we're expecting flowers to be delivered for him any minute, and what am I going to do? Harriet, I've got to hang up. Somebody's at the door. And the whole house simply reeks of cleaning fluid. I say cleaning fluid. Then maybe that's the flowers at the front door right now. The flowers, Harriet. And Sam doesn't care a bit. He's upstairs taking his Sunday nap. His Sunday nap. Goodbye. How do you do?
Hello there, Mrs. Aldrich.
Oh, Mr. Carson. Oh, Mr. Carson, it's you. Well, isn't this a surprise? Won't you come in?
I'm sorry I was held up with a little matter, Mrs. Aldrich. I intended to get over here sooner, but, well, as you can see, I've come to see the patient.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, let's go into at least the living room.
All right. I'm just a little embarrassed, Mrs. Aldrich.
Embarrassed?
I'll be frank with you. I used a little cleaning fluid for something before I started over here, and I didn't realize I was really pouring it on. I guess you'll think I've smelled up your whole house.
Oh, no. That's us.
Oh, no. Now, don't try to be polite, Mrs. Aldrich. That isn't you, that's me. Oh, but this is hardly the time for laughter, is it?
No, I suppose not. I'm so glad to see you. Mr. Aldrich is upstairs lying down.
Oh, it's Mr. Aldrich? It's Mr. Aldrich that's sick?
Why...
How could I have made a mistake like that? I thought it was Henry.
Mr. Carson, do you mind my asking just what it was Mr. Aldrich told you when he phoned this morning?
Well, the fact is, now that I think of it, he did seem to be just a bit confused. All I gathered was there'd been quite an accident and the whole family was pretty much upset, but I never dreamed... Imagine.
Well, what is it you're laughing at?
You must forgive me, but I prayed for Henry.
Well, that's very nice of you.
However, I suppose the Lord will get it all straightened out.
Alice!
Yes, Sam, are you up?
Who's making all that noise down there?
Mrs. Aldrich, I don't think you better let him come down, even if I am here.
I'm not going to. Will you excuse me just a minute while I see if he's all right?
Of course. And you tell him I'll come up there and see him.
That's fine.
Alice, didn't you hear me?
Sam, keep quiet.
Keep quiet. I'm not making the noise.
Sam, don't come any farther down the steps. You've got to go back and get into bed.
What for? I've had my nap.
But dear Mr. Carson has come to tell you how sorry he is you've had that accident.
What accident?
How do I know? Just go back into your room and get into bed.
Alice, do you feel all right?
This isn't my fault. You're the one that cooked up that story. Now go on up there and get into your pajamas and get under the covers.
But, Alice...
Sam, do you realize he even prayed for us? Now go on. Oh, Mr. Carson.
Yes, Mrs. Aldrich?
I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, but...
How's the patient?
Why, he's fine. He seems a little restless. He wants to get up and around.
Well, Mrs. Aldrich, before I go up there, I went over to sit down on your sofa, and I moved that cushion and didn't look where I was sitting, and apparently somebody left a chocolate drop under there.
Oh, dear. Had you sat on it?
That's all right, Mrs. Aldrich. This is an old suit, anyhow.
Mr. Carson, I can't begin to tell you how embarrassed I am.
Oh, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. I happen to know that ordinary cleaning fluid will remove this sort of thing without any trouble whatever.
Yes, I found that out, too. Would you excuse me while I go out to the kitchen and see whether there's any left?
Mother!
Yes, Mary, is that you?
Yes, Mother.
Dear, I didn't know you were home.
Oh, yes, I've been upstairs with the...
Well, my goodness, I thought you were out looking for... Mr. Carson, I'll get you cleaned up in just a minute.
Splendid.
Oh, hello, Mr. Carson.
Hello, Mary. Say, while your mother's getting the cleaning fluid, couldn't I go upstairs and see the patient?
The patient?
Yes, let's go up and see how he is. Tell me, Mary, how was he when you saw him last?
Oh, why, he was fine. But we've had quite a little trouble persuading him to get in bed.
Yes?
Yes, he had an engagement for Sunday dinner, and my goodness, he just insisted that he was going to go no matter what.
Yes? Well, I'll give him a good talking to and tell him to take care of himself. You know, we've been thinking for a long time of putting him on the board, and I don't know but what this would be a good time to bring it up.
On the board? Isn't he a little young for that?
Young? Not a bit. We need someone with his experience.
Oh, well, here's his door right here. I'll let you go in first, Mr. Carson.
All right. Well, old man, how are you?
Oh, gee whiz.
Oh, what are you doing in Henry's bed?
Mary, when Henry left, he said it was just going to be flowers, and then I could get up.
Back to Henry Aldrich in just a moment. But now here's...
Hi, you fellas. This is your V-mail gal Jill saying V-mail for some of you, V-mail for some more of you, and for the rest of you who are getting too few to mention, well, good night. If you don't use fast V-mail, how do you expect us to get your letters answered on the double? And another thing, V-mail letters don't require an envelope, and you can make the note as short as a GI haircut.
And now let's listen in on the Aldriches for a moment, exactly 1 week later.
Mary, I want you to run upstairs right this minute and get me a clean handkerchief.
Yes, Mother, I'll get it right away for you.
And, Henry, why don't you have both your shoes on?
Well, that's what I was just going to tell you, Mother. I can only find this one.
Mother, I don't think you have any clean handkerchiefs.
What, Mary?
Come on, Alice. Is everyone ready to start?
Now, Sam, where are you going with that suitcase?
The suitcase to church, and in it there's a complete change of ties, shoes, socks, and handkerchiefs for everyone in the family. Come on.
Aldrich Family is written by Clifford Goldsmith with music by Jack Miller. Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich are House Jameson and Catherine Roth.
This is the Armed Forces Radio Service.
That was the Aldrich Family from 1945, and now the Hardy Family, based on a series of movies. For example, 1939's The Hardys Ride High.
James, if we come into all these millions of dollars, there's one thing you simply have to do for me.
Oh, I'll do anything. What do you want?
I want you to wear a high silk hat to church on Sunday.
Say, what goes on? You act like I never kissed you before.
Andrew Hardy, must you always be so crude?
I don't get this.
Can't you be a little more subtle? Can't you approach a girl with just a little more finesse?
Finesse? Like Mr. Fancy Pants in there, I suppose, huh? Well, not me. But definitely.
This episode of The Hardy Family is from January 31st, 1950.
From Hollywood, here's Mickey Rooney, Louis Stone, and Fay Holden in The Hardy Family. We're proud to present The Hardy Family, based on the famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer motion picture series, which brought delight to millions and reflected the common joys and tribulations of the average American family. And now here are the same great stars in the parts they created on the screen. Louis Stone, Mickey Rooney, and Fay Holden, The Hardy Family.
I've heard people say they envy the professional man who works only 5 days a week and a Saturday and Sunday relax and enjoy his home. I've been a professional man all my life, and I've yet to experience a completely relaxed weekend at home. When a man has a wife as energetic as Mrs. Hardy, he should rest for 5 days and be prepared to work the weekend.
James, I've been thinking. You work awfully hard in your court all week long.
Yes, Emily, I work pretty hard. That's why I'm always happy to see a beautiful Saturday morning like this.
But after you finish your breakfast, why don't you just settle down with a good book and just relax?
Can't do that. Bill Hardy's coming by for me in a few minutes. Wants me to look at a piece of property of his.
Oh, dear. You know, you should take it easy when you have a chance.
Well, just to please you. I'll take it easy all afternoon.
No, you can't do that, dear. No, I wanted you to take me down to the railroad station to meet Mrs. Tulloh. I promised we'd meet her and take her home.
Oh, I see. Well, I'll relax after that.
And then you'll have to drive me to the market. And then I thought we might...
Emily, I see what you meant when you said I should relax when I had the chance.
Well, I wouldn't ask you, dear, except that Andy's gone for the day.
Andrew out of the house this hour in the morning? Why, don't you know it's Saturday?
James, I'm worried about that boy. Yesterday he was just full of pep. And then last night he shut himself in his room and read all the evening. You know, Mrs. Jackson said her son had those high and low flashes of temperament just before he burst his appendix.
I wouldn't worry about Andrew. When a boy stays alone in his room all night, it's more likely due to a burst romance.
Well, if he doesn't slow down a little, he's going to burst something.
Oh, by the way, I see that article I wrote here in the morning paper.
Oh, did you write that article on canning peaches?
No, Emily. The only peach I ever canned was that young widow I sent to jail for reckless driving.
Oh, James, that's terrible.
That's just a little joke, Emily, a little pun.
I know, dear. It was terrible.
Well, this article of mine on reckless driving, at the last meeting of the city council, it was decided that I should write it.
Well, that's nice. I hope everybody reads it and benefits by it.
Yes, it's intended primarily for those young fellows who drive hot rods around town at breakneck speed. I try to point out the dangers involved in these hopped-up conveyances, and I issue a plea asking the parents to speak to their children.
Well, you know, James, Andy has a hot rod.
Well, Andrew used to have a hot rod, Emily. His hot rod is more of a lukewarm rod now. Besides, he never did drive recklessly.
No, he listened to your lectures, dear. Andy was always a good boy.
Well, Emily, as a great man once said, there are no bad boys, only bad parents. That's why I'm asking the parents to do something about these hot rods. They've got to take the initiative, set the example.
I think you're exactly right, James.
And I don't intend to rest until I make every young driver in Carville safety-minded. Hot rods are a menace to our peaceful way of life. And every reckless hot rod driver will be dealt with very severely.
Andy, what in the world are you doing over here this time of the morning?
Polly, you see standing before you, no brakes, Hardy. The most devil-may-care hot rod driver in the nation.
What in the world are you talking about?
I'm about to enter my hot rod in the big jalopy race tonight at the Carville Stadium.
Really?
Don't take it too hard, child. I know there are great risks involved, but you've got to accept me as I am. The type who likes to live dangerously.
Well, I think that's wonderful, Andy.
Ah, you bloodthirsty women. What we men go through to win your admiration. Cheer while you may, because this is the most dangerous of all games.
Well, I've seen the jalopy races, and they didn't seem so dangerous.
Just remember this, dear girl. When you kiss me for good luck and send me off into that racetrack tonight, I might not come back.
In your car, you might not even get going.
I'm glad to see you're not fighting this thing, Polly.
Not at all.
You've got to be modern about these things.
Well,
You mustn't resist it.
I'm not resisting.
Oh, for God's sakes, do something. You act like you don't care if we only have this one last moment together.
Are your folks going to be at the races tonight?
Gosh, no, I haven't even told them about this. You know how Dad feels about those hot rods?
I certainly do.
Dad just doesn't understand hot rods, and so I think it's just as well not to worry, you know?
You mean you're afraid to tell him?
Don't be silly. Why, Yes, I am. I'll wait until after the race. When I come in first and win that $150, the folks will be really proud of me.
And suppose you come in 20th?
That's impossible, Polly. There's only 15 cars in a race.
Well, I'll certainly be cheering for you to win tonight, Andy.
Yeah, there's just one little thing that may prevent me, though. I need $25 for the entrance fee, and it has to be paid by 10 o'clock this morning. If I could only find someone to sponsor me.
Costs an awful lot to be a hero, doesn't it?
Well, I certainly don't want to be a cheap hero. Jim Miller offered to give me the 25, but he's out of town and won't be back until after dinner. I need the money right now. Besides, Jim drives a hard bargain. He wants 3/4 of my winnings.
Well, why don't you borrow the money on your car so you can pay the entrance fee?
Yeah?
And then pay it back tonight when you get the money from Jim Miller.
Polly, you might have an idea there. Say, I'll try it. By the way, before I go, might I give you one long, last, lingering kiss?
At this time of the morning? Right out here on the front porch?
We've got to live one last mad moment. Who knows, tomorrow the sun may not rise for me.
Well, it will for me, and I've got to think of my reputation. No smooching on the porch.
We may regret this cold farewell tonight when you're at the track, watching me slide recklessly around those turns.
Oh, I can just see it now.
Yeah?
For 50 laps, you're in number 4 spot.
That's me.
And you start to pull out. You pass one car.
Yeah, I'm in 3rd place.
You pass another car. You're in 2nd place.
No, I'm in 2nd place.
The crowd is roaring.
They're cheering.
Neck and neck with the first car.
Yeah, I'm trying to squeeze him off on the inside turn.
No, you're trying to pass him on the outside.
I'm on the outside.
Oh, how dare you.
Yeah.
It looks like your wheels are going to lock.
No. Why didn't I pass him on the inside?
You bump the wheels.
Huh?
You skid a little.
I'm skidding.
Now you're slightly ahead and pulling away fast.
That's me.
But one of your wheels is wobbling.
It's what?
It might come off any minute now.
Tighten it up!
Flames from the front of your car.
Flames! I'm on fire! Polly, please! Hush.
Oh, the crowd is hysterical.
What?
You cross the finish line before your car explodes.
It
and
does?
The wheel comes off.
It comes off! Polly!
You do!
What?
You cross the line, the winner, and jump out of your car just as it flies into 1,000 pieces.
Wham!
And you're a hero. I love you.
Polly.
Yes.
Could you love me just as much if I were the hero of a nice chess tournament? Good morning, Mr. Mason.
Morning, Andy. Say, I hear you're entered in the big jalopy race tonight.
Well, I plan to give the crowd a thrill, yes. Guess you've heard the boys talking about me, huh? No brakes, Hardy.
I'm betting on you in that race tonight.
Mr. Mason, you're a used car dealer. You know my car, right?
Sure, it'll walk away from the others.
I was wondering if you'd like to sponsor me tonight in the race.
Well, now that's quite an honor. I think I'd like it.
Swell. You know, I'll paint your name in big letters on the side of the car, too.
Well, what does the sponsor do? I make a speech or something?
No. It's very simple. You just put up $25 by 10 o'clock this morning, and you're my sponsor.
$25?
That's right.
Andy, I thought you wanted me to sponsor you, not Amos and Andy.
Well, I need the money this morning, Mr. Mason. I can pay you back by dinner time if you'll just loan it to me.
Well, Andy, we don't make loans on cars here. Try the bank.
I did. They're not making loans this morning either.
I'm sorry, Andy. We've got a deal with the bank. We don't make loans, and they don't sell cars.
Well, then buy my car. Can you do that?
Yes, but are you going to race it if I buy it?
Well, you buy it from me for $25. I'll get the money Jim Miller promised me at dinner time tonight and buy it back from you for $25.
I'm operating on a pretty small margin of profit there, don't you think?
Mr. Mason, I need the money.
Andy, I've known you for a long time, and I'd like to see you in that race. It's a deal.
You mean it? Oh, swell. Look, I'll bring my car right over.
Oh, you don't have to do
that.
No,
I insist on this thing being legal. After all, you bought the car, you're entitled to it. Until tonight.
All right, if that's the way you want to do it, but you don't have to bother to drive it over. We'll pick it up.
Good. It's standing in the driveway at my house.
All right, Andy, here's your 25.
That's it.
Get down and get your car entered, and good luck.
Thanks, Mr. Mason. Thanks a lot.
Hey, Joe, come here a minute.
Yeah, Mr. Mason?
We just bought a car from Andy Hardy here. I want you to go over and pick it up.
Oh, sure. What's the address?
342 Maple Street. The car is standing right in the driveway.
Okay, I'll get it.
Mr. Mason, you're going to see a real race tonight. When no brakes, Hardy goes turning around that track, completing 150 breathtaking laps. Oh, you're going to be proud of me.
150 laps?
Yeah.
I thought the race was only 100 laps.
It takes me 50 laps to stop. No brakes.
Emily, you home?
Yes, right here, James. I just got in. I went over at Mrs. Gordon's all morning.
Emily, our car's gone.
I know, James. Andy says it's real gone.
I mean, it's missing.
Oh, on which cylinder?
Oh, no, Emily. The car's disappeared. I parked it right in the driveway before I left this morning.
Are you sure you didn't leave it in the garage?
No. I left it in the driveway. Well, I suppose Andrews borrowed it again without my permission. I've spoken to him about that a dozen times.
Now, don't get upset with Andy yet, James. You don't know that he took it.
Well, what else could have happened to it? Andrews' car's still out there.
Well, I don't think he'd take it without permission.
Oh, Emily, it's pretty obvious. I don't mind Andrew borrowing the car any time, but I like to know when he's going to do it.
I think you're unnecessarily disturbed. It probably isn't anything bad like that at all.
And then what did happen to the car?
Why, James, probably someone's just stolen it.
moment, the Hardy family will return. But first, a word from your announcer. And now back to the Hardy family, starring Mickey Rooney, Louis Stone, and Fay Holden.
Well, one of the most frustrating experiences in the world is to go out and step into your car and find you've nothing to step into. I imagine this is an experience a good many men go through who have young sons home. Andrew thinks his own car is the finest thing on four wheels until he wants to make a little impression, then suddenly my car is much more attractive. That's probably because mine has a top that's all in one piece, and even better, a tank full of gas.
James, aren't you going to call the police and report your car stolen?
No, Emily. I'm certain Andrew borrowed it. I'm going to have a man-to-man talk with him when he comes home.
Oh, but seriously, somebody might have stolen it.
Well, who? Who would steal my car? Everyone in town knows I'm a judge. No, this is Andrew's work.
Well, if some thief did take it, will he come up to trial in your court?
I hope so. I sincerely hope so.
Oh, my goodness. In the old days when we drove around a horse and buggy, we never had a car stolen.
Well, it was harder to steal a car then. There weren't any cars.
Oh, dear, we've less than an hour to meet that train.
Well, I guess there's only one thing we can do. We'll have to take Andrew's car.
Oh, don't you think we ought to ask Andy's permission, dear?
Permission? I phoned all over this town trying to locate him, and I can't. No, we'll just borrow his car the same as you borrowed mine.
But you can't drive that car.
Why not?
It's a hot rod.
Well, I'm pretty well heated up myself at the moment.
Oh, but James, how can you be seen driving a hot rod after all the things you said about them? And that article of yours in the paper this morning.
Well, this is an emergency, Emily. This is an emergency. Besides, I'm not against the cars, just the way some of the owners drive them.
Well, Andy drove me to the market one day in that car, and I didn't stop shaking for 2 days.
We'll just putter along. Take it easy. Oh, Emily, by the way, do you think you could find my old duster and my goggles and gauntlets that I used to wear when we drove that Maxwell years ago?
James, Andy's car isn't that old.
Well, when I drive that black and white striped monster down the street, I intend to be well disguised.
Do you want me to wait until you back Andy's car to the garage before I get in, James?
No. Get in now. Gotta get this thing started. I don't want to take unnecessary chances of stopping it.
Oh, gracious, it's hard to realize that this car was once an automobile, isn't it?
It certainly is. Here, I'll open the door for you. It seems to be stuck.
Well, I think Andy usually yells over the top and leaps in.
Emily, please have a little respect for old age.
Oh, James, you're not so old.
I'm speaking of the car.
Oh.
Only one thing I do, I guess. Use a little persuasion here, so you better stand back, Mother. Now. Stand back. Well, I did it. Success.
Yeah, the door is still shut. That was the hood that flew open.
Yeah, I know.
We better hurry. We're going to be late getting to the station.
Yes, we'll just use this little stepladder here and climb over. Here, take my hand. Well, here you go. Over the top.
Oh, thank you, dear. I'm all settled.
Well, Emily, where are you? I can't even see you.
I'm sitting down on the floorboard. There doesn't seem to be any seat.
Well, here I come. Well, there we are. Oh, where's the steering wheel?
It's right there, dear, up above your head.
Oh, good heavens. Well, hang on, Emily, hang on. We may go ahead and we may go back. If I pull the wrong gadget, we might go straight up.
Why are you blowing the horn? There's nobody in our way.
Well, this may surprise you, my dear, but I'm stepping on the starter. How on earth do you start this contraption?
Andy drives his car every day, and he never has a bit of trouble. Come on, start the car.
Start it. All right. How would you suggest I start it?
Well, why don't you just turn every knob and just see what happens?
All right. Now, hang on. Windshield wiper. Throttle. Heater. Headlights. Headlights. Yeah. Why didn't I think of that? Well, here we go. We're actually going. I never thought I'd see this.
James, we've only got 15 minutes to get to the station. Don't kill the motor.
Kill it. Emily, if all the things Andrew has done to that motor hasn't killed it, he's just not ready to die.
Oh, look. There's Mrs. Forley walking down the street.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Emily, don't wave. Don't wave. She'll think we've gone crazy.
Oh, I guess you're right, dear.
Slide down the seat as far as you can until we pass her.
My knees are already higher than my head.
Well, just a second now, and we'll pass her. It's going to stop right beside her. Keep down, Emily.
Well, Judge Hardy and Mrs. Hardy.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Foley. Lovely day, isn't it?
Yes. Hello, Mrs. Forley. We didn't see you.
Well, I should think not. Curled up on the floorboards like that.
Well, it's warmer down here.
It keeps the wind out of your eyes.
Judge Hardy, it seems to me I read quite an article by you in the paper this morning about people driving dangerous hot rods on the streets.
Well, you see, this is an emergency, Miss Foley. This is an emergency. Emily, what was it I did to start the car?
I think you blew the horn.
You asked the young people of Carvel to please keep their hot rods off the streets, but I must say, Judge Hardy, you are certainly not lighting the way for others.
The headlights. That's it. Thank you, Mrs. Foley. Thank you. You have lighted the way for us.
Hello, Joe. Is Mr. Mason around?
Huh? Oh, hiya, Hardy. No, the boss is gone for the rest of the day.
I've got a little problem. Maybe you can help me.
I don't loan no dough to nobody.
That's not it. You see, Mr. Mason bought my car for $25 this morning.
Yeah, I went out and picked the heap up.
Well, I'd like to have it back.
Huh?
It just happens I'm going to win that big race with it tonight. Do you suppose you could let me have it, huh?
How much you want to pay?
Well, that's just the hitch. You see, I can't pay anything. But if I could just take the car out for the race, I can win enough money to pay back Mr. Mason.
I ain't got no authority to let no cars out, especially for no dough.
Joe, you know what I think?
Huh?
You ain't got no heart, and you ain't going to get no good conduct medal at your next scout meeting. Goodbye! Hi, Mom. Dad, nice day, isn't it?
Oh, goodness, you sound low, dear. What's wrong?
Everything. Everything's gone wrong.
Andrew, before we listen to your problems, I'd like to ask you a question about my car.
Car? That's my whole problem. I've been up to my ears in cars all day.
That's what I want to ask you. Why'd you get up to your ears in my car without my permission?
Your car? Your car, Dad? I haven't had your car today.
I parked it in the driveway this morning, and a few hours later it was gone.
In the driveway? Oh, my gosh.
Andrew, I have a feeling you do know something about this.
I may as well confess everything. I entered myself in that big jalopy race tonight.
Jalopy
and
race?
I know, Dad. I know. I shouldn't have tried to put anything over on you. I know how you disapprove of those races.
Disapprove of them? I don't disapprove of the races. They're a fine thing.
Huh?
As a matter of fact, it's an excellent idea to hold those races. Keeps the young fellas off the street at night. Lets them work their energy out on a racetrack under strict supervision.
Oh, my gosh, how droopy can I get? I should have told you in the first place. It's just that I thought you'd be so proud of me if I won first place tonight, and I was going to surprise you.
Well, dear, you could surprise us now if you told us where your father's car is.
Oh, yeah, that. Well, I needed $25 for the entrance fee, see, in the race, so I sold it to Mr. Mason for $25. and told him to pick my car up and hold it. Obviously, they took your car. It was out in the driveway. See?
You sold my car for $25?
I better go right down there and get it back for you, huh? Oh, wait a minute. If they picked your car up, then mine must still be here. I can race it tonight and pay Mr. Mason later on out of my winnings.
Yes, but what about my car?
Dad, would you mind awfully much leaving your car at Mason's lot for security, huh? Just for tonight?
Oh, I think that's the least we can do, Jane.
No, maybe.
Well, thanks, Dad. Thanks. Everything's great now. The minute I start to operate open and above board with you, all my difficulties vanish. Now tell me, where's my car?
Well, I'm afraid that part of that has vanished, too.
What do you mean?
I really wouldn't advise you to race your car tonight.
But why not?
Well, your car, when last seen, was sitting high up on a hydraulic jack down in Gordon's garage.
Gordon's garage? What happened to it?
Well, Andrew, that car of yours was really destined for the garage. I never saw so many things fall off one car.
But I left it home. Don't tell me it just suddenly collapsed from old age.
James, I think you better tell him.
Yeah? Well, son, your mother wanted me to drive her down to the train station this afternoon.
Oh, yes, but you did all the driving, James.
I know. I'll assume full responsibility, Emily. Well, a lamppost came at us very fast. It was really on the wrong side of the street.
You hit a lamppost with it?
Yeah.
Well, what happened to the car, Dad? Tell me.
Well, both front fenders came off.
Yeah?
The hood's broken off.
Yeah?
Headlights are missing.
Headlights with it? Why, that's great.
It's great.
Why, sure. You saved me a lot of trouble. I would just have to strip all those things off anyway.
Well, James, you're a racing driver and didn't know it.
Andrew, do you mean to tell me that you take all those things off your car before you race it?
Yeah, it cuts down the wind resistance. Why, I'll even take the doors and the windshield off.
No, you won't have to. They came off, too. Just tell me one thing, son.
Yeah, what's that?
Which do you enter in the race? The part you take off or the part that's left over?
In a moment, the Hardy family will return. Now, here again is the Hardy family.
Oh, gee, Andy, I don't know when I've been so excited. You were one of the leaders in the race all the way.
I told you I'm the type who likes to live dangerously.
But couldn't you have pushed down on the gas just a little more at the last?
I don't like to live that dangerously.
Andrew, I'll have to admit I misjudged your car. I never thought it would hold together that long.
Why, some of the cars didn't even leave the starting line. Oh, I think it's wonderful that you were able to come in fourth.
Yeah, it's quite an honor. Cars were dropping off like flies all along the course. It's a good thing there were only 4 left at the finish line. I might have come in 5th.
I think it's a good thing the race wasn't a mile longer.
Why, Dad?
There might not even have been a winner.
The Hardy Family, starring Louis Doan, Mickey Rooney, and Fay Holden, is presented by arrangement with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, producers of Malaya, starring Spencer Tracy, James Stewart, Valentina Cortesa, Sidney Greenstreet, and John Hodiak. The Hardy Family is written by Jack Rubin and Jameson Brewer, based on characters created by Arania Ruberall. Direction is by Thomas A. McAvity. Original music was composed and conducted by Jerry Fielding. Jack McCoy speaking.
That was the Hardy Family from 1950, and now, as promised, this great episode of the Aldrich Family.
The Aldrich Family, based on characters originated by Clifford Goldsmith, and starring Ezra Stone as Henry, with Jackie Kelk as Homer.
Henry Aldrich.
Coming, Mother.
Statisticians tell us that the average American family consists of 4.2 persons. Well, that's the Aldrich family. Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich, Mary and Henry add up to 4.2 because Henry Aldrich is a real American boy plus a little something extra. Our scene opens in the Aldrich living room. It is evening.
But, Mary, why won't you listen to reason?
Henry, I've told you I'm not even interested.
But why, Mary? Why? Is it because of something I've done to you?
Henry, I'm not going to argue with you, that's all.
All right, Mary, all right. I won't say another word. Father,
Yes?
will you please tell Mary that she ought to listen to reason?
Henry, I'm reading my paper, and I'm not going to be mixed up with this.
But gee whiz, here it is Friday night, and if there's one thing I've been wanting to go on all winter, it's a sleigh ride.
With Mary?
No, gee whiz, with anybody.
Henry, it's Joe Graham's party. He hired the sleigh and the horses. I just can't turn around and... Henry Aldrich, you're not going, that's all.
I know why you don't want me. I know. You're afraid I'll ask some girl you don't like.
That has nothing to do with it.
I'll tell you what I'll do. You name any girl in town and I'll ask her.
But I don't want you to ask anybody.
Not anybody? You mean you want me to come alone?
Henry, you're not coming at all.
All right, Mary. Then we won't say anything more about it. We won't even mention the subject again. Only I think you ought to know that one of the reasons I was offering to was just so Joe wouldn't have to pay all the expenses.
But Joe isn't going to have to pay all the expenses.
Who else is going?
Butch Welch and some girl he's taking.
But there'd still be room for me, Mary.
Father, you've got to tell Henry he can't go.
Henry.
But, Father, there's a foot of snow out, and it's a swell night, and there's even a full moon, and Mary wants to keep it all to herself.
I don't care what you do with the moon.
But, Mary, if you'd only let me go, I'd even be willing to bring my ukulele along.
Father!
Mary, if you don't want Henry to go, why don't you tell him so and settle it?
Mother!
Well, gee whiz, after all I've done for you, Mary.
Henry, can't you find anything to do?
That's the trouble, Father. I haven't a thing I can do.
You can hand me a match if you'd like to.
Oh, yes, Father. But couldn't you take her to one side and just reason with her a little?
About what?
Haven't I made it clear about taking me?
Don't hold that match so high.
Oh, is that better?
Thank you. Mary gave you her reasons for not wanting you to go with her, so why not sit down and read a book and let me read my paper?
Read a book, Father?
Why don't you go over to Homer's?
Homer and I aren't speaking to each other.
Well, find something to do. I've had a hard day at the office.
Yes, Father.
Henry.
Yes, Father. Is even that disturbing you? Do you know what I've decided? The whole thing is just a foolish whim of hers, and I don't think you ought to give in to her.
Your father shouldn't give in to what, dear?
To Mary's whim, Mother. Mary and Joe are going on a swell sleigh ride, and Father won't make her take me.
Oh, I certainly don't see why he should.
But, Mother, you haven't been here during the details.
Sam, where is Mary?
I thought she went out to speak to you.
Well, she didn't. Oh, Henry, will you please go upstairs and see whether I left my knitting bag up there?
Yes, Mother. And then when I come back, may I please say just a couple of words about this whole thing?
Sam?
Yes, Alice?
Mary hasn't gone upstairs crying, has she?
Crying? Why should she go up crying?
Well, dear, why didn't you put your foot down and settle it for them?
Because, Alice, I didn't want to get mixed up in it.
Well, naturally, Mary doesn't want her brother tagging along on a sleigh ride, especially when she's going with Joe Graham.
Mother!
Yes, Mary?
Will you please tell Henry that he's not supposed to go rummaging through my room?
But, Mary, I sent him up there to get my knitting bag.
Well, it isn't up there, Mother, and I'm simply ashamed of him.
Why?
Mother, he tries to barge in on everything.
Oh, he doesn't try to barge in on everything, does he? You know how friendly he is.
But that's the trouble. He overdoes it.
Now, Mary, is it so unreasonable if Henry wants to go on your sleigh ride? Well, I can remember when your father and I used to go on sleigh rides all the time. Didn't we, Sam?
What's that?
I was just saying, dear, how it's perfectly normal for anyone to want to go on a sleigh ride.
Yes, Mary.
Yes, Father.
How many will your sleigh hold?
Father, you and Mother aren't going along, are you?
No, dear, of course we aren't. It'll be quite enough if you just take Henry.
On the sleigh ride? He's going with us?
Mary, why couldn't you ask him to?
But, Mother, I don't want to ask him.
Sam, what do you think about it?
About what? Alice, I don't want to get involved in this.
Sam, I think the least you can do is take a little interest in your own family.
Oh.
Well, dear, we have a problem to be solved here. Henry's going to go off saying his feelings have been hurt, and Mary's going off saying her feelings have been hurt.
Because of me?
Sam, I'm ashamed of you.
Mother, here's your knitting bag.
Thank you, dear.
I'll answer the phone.
I'll answer it, Father.
I'll answer it, thank you.
Father, I'd be glad to.
Please stay there.
Sam, I want you to come back when you're through and help decide this.
I have something I've got to do in the kitchen first.
Listen, Mary, will this help you see things my way?
Henry, my entire evening's been ruined.
Now, dear, let's not be so dramatic. You're hurting Henry.
I'll say. Gee whiz, she makes me feel just as though I weren't wanted.
But, Mother, I haven't really got to take him, have I?
Mother, you mean she wants me?
We haven't decided, dear, whether she wants you or not. We're simply talking it over.
Henry!
Yes, Father?
Do you know anyone by the name of Lolly?
Lolly?
That's the way it sounded to me.
Lolly? Lolly.
But whoever she is, she wants to talk to you on the telephone.
Lolly? Yes, Father, I'll be right there.
Mother.
Lolly, gee whiz. Hello?
Hello? Is this Henry?
Yes?
Well, this is Lolly.
Who's Lolly?
Just a minute, Henry.
What?
Hello?
Homer, is that you?
Yes, I just wanted to call you, Henry, and tell you I forgive you.
For what?
For getting sore at me when I pushed you off your seat in assembly today.
Well, I got the deuce for that, Homer.
Well, look, Henry, come on over to my girl's house.
I can't. I'm going on a sleigh ride, I think.
With who?
With a crowd.
Why can't Lolly and I go with you, Henry?
No, Homer, you couldn't possibly go.
Why not?
Because, Homer, you couldn't.
Oh, I see. You're still sore at me.
No, I'm not, Homer. You just can't go.
But, Henry, can't you at least ask?
No.
What harm will it do? Or are you sore?
Well, wait, Homer. I'll ask, but it won't do any good, though.
Henry Aldrich, if you ask Homer Brown to go with us, I'll never speak to you again.
Quiet, Mary. Hello, Homer? Homer, hello? Homer! Now look at what you've done, Mary. You've offended the only good friend I ever had.
Children, I want both of you to stop quarreling.
But I'm only protecting my rights, Mother.
Mary, you're simply making a mountain out of a molehill.
A molehill?
Mary, I've never seen you act this way before.
But I've never had anything like this happen to me before.
But Homer isn't going.
Mary!
Yes, Father?
Joe Graham's out here in the hall.
He is. He is. Oh, my gracious.
Mary, stop running around in circles. Sam, tell Joe to come in.
But, Mother, if Henry has to go along with us, what will the whole town say?
Well, what will they say?
That I can't go out on a date without bringing my whole family.
Good evening, Mrs. Aldrich.
Good evening, Joe. You look as though you were dressed for a sleigh ride.
I am. Hello, Mary.
Hello?
Well, aren't you ready to go?
Not quite. Mother, were you going to stay here while I'm out of the room?
Now, Mary.
What's up?
Joe, she's afraid you're going to be insulted over something.
Mother.
What's the trouble?
Mother.
Joe, Henry wants to go with you.
What's that?
Yes, Joe.
Well, that's fine.
There, Mary. See that? Joe didn't hit the ceiling.
No, not at all.
Joe, you're only being polite.
Why? I'm not being polite. Why, I'd be glad to have Henry come along.
Of course. And when you get through, you can all come back here and have some sandwiches.
With Henry, Mother?
Now, dear, I'm going out to the kitchen and see what's in the icebox.
Well.
If you aren't a nice one, Joe, why didn't you say you didn't want him to go along?
How could I? Right in front of your mother.
Well, you could have backed me up, couldn't you?
Now, listen, all I was doing was being polite.
But, Joe, you practically begged him to go.
I begged him to go. Listen, the next thing I know, you'll be wanting to take your whole family and saying that I asked them.
Joe, I'm a little bit surprised at you.
What? You mean you're surprised? Listen, Mary, I like Henry. He's a nice kid. But he hasn't any right to go on the sleigh ride.
What do you mean he hasn't any right? You don't want him to go.
That isn't the point. Are you going to insist on taking him?
That isn't what I asked you.
Are you taking him?
Yes, I am. Of course I'm taking my own brother.
That's all I wanted to know. That's all I... Where's my hat and coat?
Right there on that chair.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe.
Who's that?
It's Butch. Are you all ready?
For what?
Well, for the sleigh ride. What do you think?
Oh, you and Gracie go.
Alone?
Yes.
Hey, what's the idea?
I'm going upstairs and take these heavy clothes off.
Well, listen, Joe, what's the trouble? Don't you like Gracie? If you don't, Joe, why don't you say so?
Butch, Mary wants to take Henry.
Henry?
Henry? That's right, Henry.
Well, why don't you put your foot down?
I have. What do you think I was just doing?
Boy, if it was anybody else but that kid. Why don't you tell Mary to lock him up?
Now, wait a minute, Butch. You can't talk about him like that.
What do you mean I can't?
Oh, there isn't a nicer kid in this town. Why, he'd do anything in the world for you.
All right, why doesn't he stay home then?
But, Butch, can you give any good reason why he shouldn't go with us?
Yeah, I could give you $1 million.
Now, listen, Butch, you're just making a mountain out of a molehill.
Joe, is Mary here in the living room?
No.
Well, did she tell you what I'm taking?
What?
My ukulele.
Good.
Sure, fine. That's all we need.
Okay, gee, I'm glad I thought of it.
Henry!
Yes, Father?
Is there somebody in this town named Suki?
Suki? Suki?
Suki. She wants to speak to you on the telephone.
Suki, she wants to speak to me?
Well, Joe, a ukulele.
But, Butch, what harm will it do?
The next thing, you'll be wanting to take along the whole family.
Now, wait a minute, Butch. You can't talk like that right here in my girl's house.
Well, are you two still here?
Yes, we are. And what do you think? Butch doesn't want to take Henry.
Butch doesn't want to.
Yeah, that's what he said. And after your own mother had been generous enough to offer to make sandwiches for us.
Well, what's that got to do with it?
Oh, my goodness.
But, Joe, you and I are paying for the horses.
But Henry's willing to pay for his share, Butch.
What's that?
Yes, he is.
He's willing to pay for 1/3?
Well, Butch, I hope you don't think my brother is the kind that wouldn't be willing to pay his way.
Oh, no, Mary, I didn't mean that. As a matter of fact, I've always liked the kid. Why doesn't he come along? Sure, why not?
Oh, my goodness, I wish you boys would make up your minds. Wait here while I go up and put my heavy clothes back on.
And tell Henry to bring his ukulele.
Henry! Henry!
What, Mary?
I want to tell you something.
Well, I'm talking to Suki.
Well, I'll be down in a few minutes.
Hello? Hello?
Who are you talking to, Henry?
That was my sister going by. She gets very excited all the time.
Well, Henry, the reason I called was, are you doing anything this evening?
Who, me?
I guess you think I'm terrible asking you.
Well, the only thing is, gee, I never thought you knew I existed.
Who? I?
Sure.
Would you like to come over this evening, Henry?
Well, how would you like to go on a sleigh ride, I think?
On a sleigh ride, Henry, on a cold night like this?
Don't you like the cold?
I hate the cold. Why don't you just come over here? We'll sit and visit in our warm living room.
You really want me to? How long before you want me to come over?
Just as soon as you can.
Well, gee, I mean...
Are you sure you don't mind, Henry?
Gee, it's the one thing. Look, I'll start right away. Goodbye, Suki.
Goodbye, Henry.
Henry!
Yes, Mother?
Where are you?
I'm getting my things on.
Well, dear, be sure to wear a muffler and a heavy sweater.
Yes, Mother, I've got them. Goodbye.
Henry, are you going out alone?
Sure, Mother, over to Suki's.
Who?
Suki's.
Aren't you going with Mary?
With Mary? Oh, no, Mother.
Wait a minute, Henry. Why aren't you?
I don't want to. I changed my mind.
You changed your mind?
Yes, Mother, goodbye.
But, Henry...
Mother!
Well...
Mother, may I wear your blue... Mother? What's the matter?
Not a thing.
Well, why don't you answer me?
Never mind, Mary. But I think you ought to be completely ashamed of yourself.
Ashamed of myself?
Alice!
Yes, Sam.
I have a little surprise for you.
What is it?
Get your things on in a few minutes. I just phoned the stables and hired a sleigh.
For just the two of us?
Yep.
Well, dear, I can't go off on any sleigh ride when my whole family's upset.
Over what?
Mother, what's happened?
Mary, don't you realize your own brother just went off terribly hurt?
Hurt?
Yes, dear, of course. He knows when he's not wanted.
But, Mother, we decided to take him. In fact, Joe and Butch both want him to go.
Not very much so.
But we do, Mother.
Alice, what's happened?
Sam, this is entirely your fault.
What have I done?
Dear, you've let Mary send her own brother off sulking.
Where?
Over to Suki's.
Sulking at Suki's?
Wherever he went, I'm going to find him.
Why?
I'm going to take Henry with us on that sleigh ride now if it's the last thing I ever do.
But getting back to the troubles of Henry Aldrich. After disrupting the entire family over the question as to whether he may or may not go on a sleigh ride, Henry suddenly decides to spend the evening with a girl who doesn't care for sleigh rides. In fact, she simply hates the cold. The scene opens 10 minutes later in the Aldrich living room. Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich are speaking. But, Alice, I thought you hinted that you would like to go for a sleigh ride.
Sam, dear, earlier in the evening I did wish we could go, but I couldn't possibly go off having a good time without first making sure the children are going to straighten everything out.
Well, then we won't go. Where's Mary?
She's gone over to Suki's to get Henry.
What for?
To tell him he's to go with her. You better see who's at the door, dear.
It's probably Mary back.
Hello, Mr. Aldrich.
Well, Homer.
Will you tell Henry Lolly and I are here?
Henry?
Sam, who is it?
It's me and my girl, Mrs. Aldrich. We're ready to go on the sleigh ride with Henry.
Well, dear, are you quite sure you were to go along?
Well, I certainly understood we were.
When did he ask you?
Just a little while ago on the telephone. In fact, just before we got cut off, I heard Mary say, Henry, if Homer doesn't go along, I'll never speak to you again.
Well, Homer, I'm very much afraid Henry isn't here.
Where is he?
He's over at Suki's.
At Suki's?
Yes.
Oh, at Suki's. Well, we'll go right over. Gee, they're probably waiting for us.
Are you uncomfortable, Henry?
Well, would you mind if I should put this cushion on the floor?
No, not at all.
I've always wondered what the inside of your house would be like.
Do you like it?
Sure. You know what I've always said?
What?
All you have to do is see a person and you can tell what their living room's going to be like.
Really?
Sure. You take Willie Marshall. You know how stingy he is?
What's his living room like?
Long and narrow. And boy, they won't even let you open the piano.
Not ever.
Never when I'm there. And gee whiz, what harm could I do? I'm not even interested in pianos.
Oh, I love a piano.
Well, so do I. Don't misunderstand me. I just don't like Willie's piano. Do you ever skate?
Do you?
Oh, gee, do I.
Henry, I simply detest skating.
You do? Is that right? Well, frankly, I don't care for it very much myself.
You don't?
What is there to it? Now, you take swimming. Boy, it's the same lake, but I don't know. Do you like swimming?
Oh, I hate to swim, Henry.
You do? Well, as a matter of fact, it's very refreshing to find somebody as frank as you.
What is there to swimming?
That's what I say. It's either too hot or too cold. And you wear yourself getting across the lake, and then you have to swim all the way back.
My, we have a lot of taste in common, haven't we?
I'll say we have.
And I'm so glad you don't like to go sleigh riding. You know, my mother and father like to go, but I can't stand it.
Boy, did you save my life.
Really?
Gee, the whole gang practically insisted that I go along, and I was trying to be polite.
You must be terribly popular, Henry.
Do you like fellas who are popular?
Sarah Sue?
Yes, Father?
How did Henry happen to go home?
We haven't. He's right here.
Yes, he's still here?
Yes, sir. Hello, Mr. Matthews.
Well, you and Sarah Sue were so quiet, I thought you'd gone home.
Well, do you think I ought to be going?
Oh, no, not at all. As a matter of fact, it's a nice change to have a boy in the house that isn't noisy.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews.
Has Mother gone to bed?
No, she's upstairs reading. And don't worry, I'm going back up with her.
Mr. Matthews, if we get to talking too loud, you just be frank and call down.
Thank you, Henry.
Your father's certainly a nice person.
You made an awful hit with him. And, Henry, I don't know when I've had a nicer evening.
Do you want me to put another log on the fire?
My gracious, I wonder who that could be.
Gee whiz, I hope whoever that is, they don't disturb your folks.
I guess I better see who's there. Hello, Suki. Is Henry here?
Mary, is that you?
Yes, Henry, and I've only got a second. You get your things on right away and come along with us.
Why?
For the sleigh ride.
But, Mary, I'm not going.
But you've got to, Henry.
But isn't it clear I don't want to?
Now, Henry, there's no use in trying to make out your feelings are that hurt. Get on your things and come along, and Suki, too. For a sleigh ride? Yes. Joe and Butch and his girl are all out in front in the sleigh.
But, Mary, we're not interested in going.
Henry, do I have to get down on my knees and apologize?
What for? Gee whiz, I can sit in the house here by the fire if I want to, can't I?
No.
Why?
Because, Henry, you simply misunderstood us. Joe and Butch wanted you to go all the time. Now, please get your things on.
No.
All right, Henry, I'll tell Mother. Where's the phone?
You don't have to tell her. Suki, where's the phone?
It's right here in the hall.
Gee whiz, anybody think... Imagine.
Number, please. please?
Elm 303.
Elm 303.
Henry, I'm simply disgusted. If you were a little offended, that's one thing, but you certainly don't have to keep on sulking.
I'm sulking?
Henry?
Yes, Mr. Matthews?
Remember what you told me? If you happen to be talking too loud, I should let you know.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Matthews.
Hello?
Hello, is this you, Father?
It is?
Well, Father, could you please tell Mary to leave me alone?
What's the trouble?
I don't see why. If I don't want to go, I have to.
Henry, aren't you and Mary old enough to settle this between yourselves?
Henry, let me speak to him.
Wait a minute, Mary.
Henry, will you please let me speak to my own father?
Well, Mary, it isn't necessary to push me off the chair, is it?
I'm sorry. Father! Father!
Who is this?
It's Mary, and Henry is simply being stubborn.
I am not.
Mary, this is something I don't know anything about. If Henry doesn't want to spend his money on a sleigh ride, I don't think you should make him.
But, Father, it isn't a case of paying.
Sam, let me have the phone.
Now, wait a minute, Alice.
Mary.
Is this you, Mother?
Yes, dear, and I don't think it's very nice of you to go all the way over there just to talk Henry into not going.
Is that, Mother? Let me talk to her.
Stop it!
Hey, Mary, do you want us to freeze out here?
Joe, you just have to wait. Mother? Mother? Mother!
What did she say, Mary?
Henry! Mary, hurry up.
Well, Joe, now you've made me lose my mother.
Henry!
Yes, Mr. Matthews?
We can still hear you up here.
Number, please.
Operator, I was talking with Elm 303.
Quiet, Mary.
Elm 303. I'm sorry, but Elm 303 does not answer.
But, Operator, it must answer. I was just talking with them.
Sarah Sue, is there a door open downstairs?
Yes, Father. I think it's the front door.
Joe, would you mind closing the door you left open?
Sure.
Operator, are you ringing my mother?
I'm trying to get your party.
Oh, gee whiz, if this isn't embarrassing.
Hey, Joe, what's going on in here?
They won't come, Butch.
We don't want to come.
Sarah Sue, is anyone down there besides you and Henry?
Well, I'll tell you, Father.
It's just a couple of friends, Mr. Matthews, that happened to drop in.
Please keep that front door closed.
Yes, Mr. Matthews. Mary, won't you hang up and go?
No, Henry, I can't go without Mother's permission.
But don't you realize what you're doing to me?
Who's that?
I haven't any idea.
Say, it's Henry Aldrich here.
Now listen, Homer, what do you want?
Henry Aldrich, did you ask Homer?
I did not.
You did too, Henry. Even told me to bring my girl.
Sarah Sue, your mother doesn't mind you having one or two guests, but you didn't tell us you were going to have a party here.
But, Father, I'm not. Mr. Matthews, if Henry and Suki will only go out and get on our sleigh, we'll all leave.
All right, why don't you go?
Because Suki doesn't want to.
Well, why not? It's a great night and it'll do her good.
Father, please don't send me out into the cold.
Who's that at the door?
It's probably my girl, frozen to death. Come on in, Lolly.
This isn't Lolly.
Father, how did you get over here?
I drove your mother over. What's going on here?
Henry, dear, I've never been so mortified.
Operator, never mind. My mother's here.
Sam, are you warm enough?
Yes, Alice. Are you?
I've never so warm in my life. Aren't the stars lovely?
Get up there.
How about you folks in back? Are you comfortable?
Yes, we're fine. Mrs. Matthews is just saying we've forgotten how pleasant it is to ride in a sleigh.
Yes?
Get up there. Look. I wonder how the children are.
Get out there.
Are you warm enough, Joe?
Move over a little closer.
Is that better? I wonder how the others are.
Get up there. You know, Gracie, as a matter of fact, I'm glad just the two of us took this sleigh. Gracie? Gracie, are you asleep?
Get up there. Are you warm enough, Suki?
Yes, I'm quite warm, Henry.
You know, Suki, as long as your father made us get out of the house anyhow, this was a swell idea of yours.
Oh, yes. I much prefer a closed carriage to an open sleigh.
Would you like that lap robe that's on the back seat?
Yes, I think I would.
Okay. Well, gee whiz.
What's the trouble?
It seems to be fastened.
Now listen, Henry, let go of my overcoat.
Homer, how did you and Lolly get in here?
Listen again next week, same time, same station, for another sparkling half hour with your favorite youngster, his family, and his pals. The Aldrich Family, starring Ezra Stone, is written by Clifford Goldsmith.